Hello, welcome to this channel. I am Kouki. Yeah! Okay, so for this video, I would love to speak to you about objective truth and subjective truth. Now, this is a very good tool that I also personally use to identify misalignment in a lot of things. Actually, it can be used in a lot of scenarios and contexts, and that would be in the third part of the video that I would talk about on such usage. So now, why do I want to talk about subjective and objective truth though? Because a lot of the time, many of us would mix these two things up and not able to see into each of them, the objective one, the objective truth, and the subjective truth. And when we have them mixed up, these would actually cause a lot of confusion in our forward path, and also causing us unable to see why we are stuck in certain situations. So that is the reason that I would love to share this information here for all of us, so we can distinguish what is the objective truth and what is the subjective truth, and allowing us to move forward in a much smoother way for personal development. Okay, ding ding ding. So that would be my intent. Now, for the overview of video, would be how I'm gonna divide this video into. Basically, we're gonna go through 3 parts. So the first part, so part 1, would be about what is objective truth and what is subjective truth. Basically, it's the what. Okay, what is it? And the second part would be about that's kind of like a common pitfall. Oh, why are you down? Up. It's like an ocean. So, the one in the sea, the one in the ocean. Where was I? Oh yes, the part 2 would be a common blind spot, or say pitfall, that most of us would, when unconscious and when unaware, would kind of like pivot to that side. Okay, so that would be what I want to talk about as well. So then we can be aware of it if, in any case, we happen to stumble upon it. Okay, now, so for the part 3 of this video would be on the usage of the application of this tool, objective truth and subjective truth. What is it for? It is for checking any kind of misalignments in our personal life. Very useful. Okay, so I would also give out 3 examples regarding interpersonal relationships utilizing this tool. Second example would be on belief system, checking if it's your core belief or you have taken on somebody else's baggages. Okay, now example 3 would be about your life path. Like, are your actions, the actions that are you doing now, are they actually aligned to your path? So we can actually use this tool, objective truth and subjective truth, to check. Okay, so let's get started. All right, let's get into the part 1. What is objective truth? What is objective truth? Ha, ha, ha. Okay, now let's first distinguish briefly what is objective truth and what is subjective truth. Now, if I have to say it in a very brief way, like one sentence, to say what is objective truth, like to define an objective truth and subjective truth. Basically, now this one's objective truth, okay? This one is subjective. The objective truth, if in one phrase, it basically is what it is. What it is. Objective truth. Subjective truth, in one phrase, how I feel. How I feel. So that is subjective truth. Now, basically, what it means is that the objective truth stands for anything that is factual based, data based. It involves no emotion. objective truth involves no emotion. Okay? So it is dealing with the intellectual faculty in us. The intellectual faculty, okay? It involves no emotion at all and it's factual based. Thus, the objective truth. And in one phrase, we can ask ourselves what it is. It's simply talking about the situation, the context, the details, the data, the facts. Clear? Okay, clear. Now this side. Now this side is the subjective truth, right? I'm going to put it up here as well so you can see the comparison. The subjective truth is dealing with emotional faculty in us. So this one is intellectual faculty. This one is dealing with the emotional faculty. This emotional faculty would be about how we feel about things, our feelings, our emotional responses, and also, even to a certain point, how we see about certain things, how we behave, how we even kind of like how do we agree or disagree with things based on personal values, right? So that is actually also dealing with the belief system because it's something personal and it's something related to emotions as well. So this is the subjective truth. It's a personal thing that constructs, that shape who you are as a person, who we are as individuals. Okay, all right. So in one phrase, this subjective truth would be how I feel when we ask oneself how I feel for checking. Clear? Now, this is the differences between the two very concisely. Now, so let's dive into same thing. Let's dive into objective truth, giving examples of it, okay? Now, the example of an objective truth would be, say, if you are, now I'm giving an example, an exact scenario so that we can see the objective and the subjective at the same time, okay? So then we can understand where do they interweave and how do we untangle them. Now, so say if there's a situation, I'm going to use myself as a situation. Now, say if I'm actually in a workplace and subjective truth is that I feel that I'm not being respected in my workplace. I feel that I'm not being respected in my workplace. I don't feel worthy at my workplace, even if I'm working very hard. I'm trying my best. I'm working overtime. And I don't feel like my salary is actually matching up with my effort. Okay? Now that's a subjective truth, isn't it? Because everything I talk about, it was like how I feel about it, how I see about it, and to the point that how I perceive my actions are not receiving enough rewards. Make sense? That is subjective truth. It involves emotions because I don't feel respected, right? There's feelings. Now, what could be the objective truth when it comes to this situation? The objective truth is there are many colleagues, my colleagues in this scenario, my colleagues work even harder than I am. They work more overtime than me. And they mingle with the bosses even more than I do. Okay? And they would be able to get salary raise much easier than me because of the interpersonal relationships that they develop with the bosses, in a sense, right? Okay, now, so Now, there's not really a problem here, right? But if I shift to the subjective truth, you would be able to feel like there's much more of an issue here than this one. When I speak on this one, you could feel the stress, the subjective truth. Like, I feel not respected in my workplace. I feel that my works are not being appreciated and the salary is not matching up with my dedication, with my effort, right? You can feel the stress here. Now for this one, I was just describing a situation that these colleagues are actually working more overtime than me. Factual, because we can see the hours, clock in, clock out. They are actually even working harder than me because of the tasks that they are doing. They actually finish even more tasks than I do. So we can say it's KPI. Okay, now what's more is that in fact they do actually mingle and socialize more with other people, with the management team. They spend much more time on this socialization than me, and it's evident, like it's true. Okay, so these are all factual. You see, it's factual. You can see that time, the task KPI, and also the time and task. You can see that it's measured, it's measurable. Now for this one, no, cannot really be measured. Cannot, but you can feel the stress. This one, no, not really stress. It's just factual. You see the difference? Can you feel the difference? So now, so if we apply this phrase, the two phrases that I mentioned, what it is, right? What I just described was about what it is, the situation. Now this one is how I feel. And so naturally you would feel the stress when it comes to this scenario. Okay, so we have it distinguished and you know the difference now. A lot of the times, how we feel stuck is when we mix them together and not being able to see that they're actually separate. Okay, example. If we mix them together, it means that I would then use this to justify this. I would use the objective truth to justify how I feel. And that's not going to work. Okay, this is the common blind spot which is because we are now in the part 2 now. I'm just like doing a transition into the part 2, okay? So we're now in part 2, which is the common blind spot. Now, what is this common blind spot? This common blind spot is when we try to intellectualize our feelings, so to bypass any kind of emotional resolution. I'm going to repeat again. This common blind spot is when we, individuals, when we choose to intellectualize our feelings, so to bypass emotional resolution. Meaning, when we choose to use this, the objective truth, the factual based, the intellectual faculty, to justify how we feel, this would then result in the phrase, what I think about how I feel. What I think about how I feel. So we then intellectualize how I feel, right? Now this is a common blind spot. Why? Because when we intellectualize our feelings, we mix them together. The thing is, we have to actually separate them to see them clearly. Only then they can proceed on their own to resolve anything on its own. And what we actually usually need to resolve is this, the subjective truth first. Okay? Because whatever is the objective truth, it's not really necessary to be changed unless it is it is operated out of subjective truth. Because whatever is objective, it is simply a fact. It is what it is at this point. But it's not necessary to, it's not about involving emotion. Now, I'm going to give an example. This is quite kind of controversial, but it's just an example I'm using. Now, there are wars, right? Wars happening. Objective truth, there are wars. There are wars happening. People die. People suffer. And there are lots of damages done to the cities, to the civilized, to the constructs, right? Objective truth, facts. You can even count the casualties. Okay? Now, subjective truth. I feel horrible when I hear about this news of wars. These wars are hurting humans. These wars are inhumane. These wars are causing all of us to separate from each other. We really have to stop this. You see the difference? So now we're not talking about an exact context like the workplace now. We're talking about a global kind of an issue. It's more of a sociological issue, right? On the world stage. So you can see how it can be separated into two things. And what I mentioned was we can't really change the facts, right? We can't change it unless you want to operate from the subjective truth. Only then you would take actions to do certain things when it comes to this. It has to come from the subjective truth. Only then you would move towards a certain direction, and thus this kind of objective truth, the facts would be changed because of subjective truth. Does it make sense? Because the fact is the fact. You can't change the fact unless there's a force coming from the subjective truth. Only then something would be directed to take certain actions towards working towards a certain direction, and thus these facts would be changed. Say, if someone wants to stop the wars, they believe that humans need to come together, they should love each other, so and so on, okay? That is subjective truth. That is subjective truth. Now, what they do, their actions would then be working towards what they believe in. That's subjective truth. And because of their actions, the results of their actions would then cause these to change. Okay, so there would be less wars over time. There would be less casualties. The numbers would drop. This is simply objective truth. Does it make sense? So I'm just bringing up the comparisons, so it's kind of like a scientific way to see into it. Now, the blind spot, police cars. Can you guys hear it? Hope not. Okay. So when it comes to the common blind spot, is if we intellectualize feelings. So we use the objective truth, we use any kind of factual things to justify, intellectualize our feelings. It would got us into a loophole. Because you mix these two together. When we mix these two sides together, these two truths together, we would form stagnancy. Stagnant. We would become stagnant. Stuck. Now, I'm going to use the workplace situation. Bring it back up again. So you still remember that this in this scenario, the workplace, quite stressed. You work a lot, but you feel like you don't get paid enough, and you don't feel respected in your workplace, and you don't feel you're worthy. Okay, that's all subjective truth. The feelings, how one personally perceive one is being treated in the workplace. Now, the objective truth is that's how your colleagues are. They work even more overtime than you do, I do, and they work even harder based on KPI, and they even spend more time to mingle and socialize with the management teams, okay, and they get salary raise. Now, so from my perspective, no, I'm this person, I'll say, I then say, well, now if I mix them together, okay, if I mix these two together, meaning I intellectualize how I feel, what I think about how I feel. So I'm justifying now. I'm using this factual thing to justify how I feel. And that would be the result, as I'm gonna say it. I feel that I'm so disrespected. I don't feel, my work is being appreciated in my workplace. I mean, it's because, look, how these people are just simply so egoistic and they are not working together with me. And more often, they just really, they spend so much time to gossip with the management teams, and I just don't want to do that. I don't kiss ass. Okay, I don't kiss ass like they do. And I just don't like to be with them because they are so stupid. And so, well, if they just want to chase the KPI, I'm like, I'm not going to chase with you. But I mean, I'm just going to be here, do my job, but I don't like you guys anyways. And my work, how I work is simply because, I need this money, so I'm here. But I don't care. I don't care. Okay. That would be usually the outcome of turning into jealousy, suppressed anger, and also isolation. Some of the outcomes, that's what I'm saying, some of the outcomes, if we mix this together, if we unconsciously put these two together, which is the subjective truth and the objective truth, that would result in a stuck situation for oneself. That's why I said it's a common blind spot. But some of you might wonder, why is this a common blind spot? How would this come about if we mix these two together? Why would it come into such a situation, such a state of being? It's because, you see, now this is the solution in a sense. If we see it, if we separate this, right? Back to objective truth and subjective truth. If we are able to separate, in this sense, how would it be? If a person is able to separate from this state of being to this, what would be a potential outcome? And I would demonstrate in the following. I don't really feel respected in this workplace, and I don't really feel like my work is being appreciated. I don't feel good about it. I can talk to my, boss about it and see how he or she reacts. And now that I'm reflecting on myself, is this actually the kind of environment that I want to be in? Because if it is not serving me any kind of supportive feelings in this community, and I feel like I need more support, I need more loving and caring, or at least some supportive colleagues. But I don't really find anyone that could resonate with me here. And I don't feel validated. It's very, very just simply money oriented and numbers oriented. I mean, I love dealing, I can deal with numbers, but I need more genuine connections and not just people putting on barriers between each other and it's very cold. I don't feel good about it. And I do understand that my colleagues work kind of even harder than I do, because I can see some of them like stay overnight in the office, and I don't. I mean, I gotta go back home and have a good shower and like have a good sleep. But I mean, some of them they really try even harder than I do, and I don't want this kind of life, but I respect them. Yeah, so I might just think how I can navigate through this. Maybe I will choose another path and maybe look through some other companies and see if there are any kind of opportunities there. Maybe this is not the right community for me. You see the difference between the first one? If it gets entangled, there are lots of emotions, suppressed emotions that are not being resolved. Because what one has to do is actually to solve this thing, to solve this, to have the emotions resolved, and not actually use any kind of external situations in a way to justify how one feels. Okay, there's certain truth, but I'm going to talk about it. What it is. We can, however, use the objective truth to be supporting facts, but not really supporting arguments. There's a difference here, because if we use any kind of external data or evidence, so to speak, as supporting arguments to contribute to how we feel, the word argument here, why do I use the word argument? It's because when we think of anything in an argument, it brings in more emotions. It's like going against something. Does it make sense? A lot of the times when we think of things in argument, it means going against something. So if we use if we use anything in the objective truth area, so factual, intellectual, evidence-based, as supporting arguments to justify how we feel, it basically means there's an enemy here. There's a common enemy here. From our perspective, there's an enemy, so we're going against it. Is it making sense? Is it ringing a bell? I think so, yeah? Okay? So you're going against this, you're using the objective truth to go against, so to justify how you feel. And that's not going to get anything resolved here. Make sense? Now, how can it be? How can we turn it around or upgrade it? Now, what can we use this for? We can use this objective truth as supporting facts, not arguments, supporting facts to help us understand more of the situation, so then we can grow out of it. Yeah. Yay! Okay, you see how it can be flipped around, and we can see from a better perspective. So we don't use the objective truths, anything related to the objective truth, as supporting argument. No. Bing ding. Okay, it's not ding ding. The next one will be ding ding. Supporting argument. Okay, we use we use the objective truth as supporting facts, ding ding, to help us understand more of our situation, where we stand, and to help us to navigate forward in a positive way in order to resolve our own emotional struggles when it comes to subjective truth. Okay, so this is actually supporting facts to help us see better. Use this to help us see better of the entire situation, the context, so to outgrow any kind of situations. And the common blind spot is when individuals use this objective truth as a supporting argument to go against, right? There's a going against now. It's not supporting, it's not helping us to understand, it's going against, it's fighting. It's fighting energy, okay? So this would then becomes a force to even contract, get us stuck, because we're fighting. We're fighting. It's in the fear consciousness, not spiraling up, it's spiraling down. Okay, so now this combative energy, this combative perspective would cause us to be stuck in situations. And that is why the energy, the emotions of anger, suppressed anger, jealousy, and also even hatred would surface up in the context when is the objective truth and subjective truths are kind of like interlocked in the perspective of the supporting argument. Okay, like this. But if we separate them, it would then become a very useful tool to help us see with better clarity of the entire situation, so to outgrow, to have the emotions resolved. Okay, so yeah, I hope this is making sense so far. Well, to further solidify this understanding, we are now going to the part 3. Part 3 is how to utilize. Okay, so we're doing application. We're doing application. So this application is to utilize objective truth and subjective truth to check misalignment. Because when we check any kind of misalignment, if you successfully checked it, basically you can then resolve it, right? That's the reason for why this person in the workplace, that was like me, basically, how I can resolve this and say, oh, maybe I should think of finding another company and, maybe recheck my path, because that is actually the entire process of checking misalignment, the misalignment with my own path, right? Should I stay in this job because I'm not feeling good here? It's not a community that I want to stay in because I don't feel appreciated. That's not what I want. You see, that's self-checking. So it's checking misalignment. That entire process that I was speaking earlier on was me checking with myself if there's any misalignment in my path, in my career path. Is this what I want? Is this the kind of company that I want to work in? And so after this talk with myself, I check with myself, I then come to a resolution that, okay, my emotions are resolved. I know what I need now because I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy here in this workplace. It's because I don't feel validated and I don't feel supported. So what I need to do then is to find another workplace, find a community that I feel that I'm appreciated, my work is being respected, and I feel that I am of value as a member of this community, in this community. You see, that is resolved within myself. I don't even have to talk about any other person, like, whoa, what he did, what she did, okay? That would then come into a natural resolution within myself after doing the checking with the misalignment, using the tool of objective truth and subjective truth in a way that this objective truth is being used as a supporting fact, for supporting facts, but not supporting arguments. Okay. So now we're in part 3, and I'm gonna give three examples. The first one is gonna be interpersonal. The second one is about belief system. The third example would be about your own path. Okay. So let's go into the example 1 now. Example 1, interpersonal. Now the interpersonal example is for checking the authenticity of your relationship, okay, with anyone. Say I'm in a, I'm gonna use myself as an example. It's made up, okay? This example is made up scenarios. Now say I'm in a relationship with a man, and I feel that I am very in love with this person, and I feel that I'm in love with him. However, now I'm talking about subjective truth, okay? However, I sometimes feel lonely. I feel that I'm not being really appreciated by him because he can be hot and cold. Okay, say he can be hot and cold. One moment he can be really sweet, and another moment he's just like as cold as ice. And I don't really feel good about this. However, I'm being told by this person, by the man that I'm in love with, is that he loves me very much. And this is the way how love is that he needs more space. He needs privacy. And everybody needs that as well. So if you love me, that's what the man said to me. If you love me, then you should be able to, love this part of me as well. And so I feel that, yes, I love you. And so I should love you in totality and let you do what you want. And I understand that. However, I feel lonely and I feel invalidated and I feel isolated because of the relationship, the dynamics that I have with this man, even though that I am in love with him. Okay, now these are all subjective things, right? We can see, now let's put on, we can see that this person is in love with this man. However, this person also feels that she's lonely and she doesn't feel validated. She doesn't feel appreciated and she doesn't really feel loved. But she was told that this is what love should be. Okay, so this is subjective truth. Now, what can we do when it comes to this situation? Because we are checking misalignment, right? We're checking misalignment. And the point is to check, I said it earlier, is to check the authenticity of relationships. Authenticity. It means, is there any good talk? Is there any red flags? Are there any red flags here in this relationship? That's why we're checking with the authenticity of any relationship, right? Now for this one, how can we check it? Now we're going to use the objective truth now. Objective truth does not involve emotion, remember. Does not involve emotion. Now, does this man, there could be a list, okay? Does this man spend time with you on a regular basis? Is this man's behavior consistent? Is this man see his emotional stability as his own responsibility? Is this man do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just naming a few. Is this man openly communicate with you? Does this man openly communicate with you about how he feels? This is factual. Like, does he even spend time to talk to you about this? It's just like check the action. Because on a certain degree, these are very interpersonal things, right? You can say, does he openly communicate with you? Then how open it is, right? Does he even make an effort to do so? Does he even stay to listen? Does he even sit down with you and actually talk with you? Or this person literally just slams the door and not even want to talk? These are facts. Facts. These are not even subjective anymore. These are facts. The reason is not as easy to spot is because we when it's when it's a relationship, it's just two persons, right? It's between you and the other person, and it's not easy to spot. It's because your subjective truth might be mixed up with the objective, right? But it's easier to separate these two, to see into it, when we use kind of like unit of measurement. Say you actually count the number of times this person would actually sit down and talk to you about the issue. Just the unit of measurement, just measure it. But you don't have to let this person know. It's just then you can keep track of if this person has such an action. That's it. It's not even about the contents of talking yet. It's about if this person is actually making an effort to sit down to talk through it, and not just like having like an emotional outburst and walk away and leave and not wanting to talk about this. So you can then see there's a red flag there if it's not matching up with the reality of, because how this person feels is loneliness. And however, this man is telling this person here that this is how love is. You need to give me space. You need to let me do whatever I want, right? Okay. The thing is, a lot of the time when people are in this situation, this person, they get confused with what? Like, is this love? Like, is this really love? But why do I feel so crappy? Why do I feel like crap? Why do I feel like crap? Why do I feel like I'm not being treated well? Why do I feel like I'm being treated disrespectfully? You see? But I'm being told that I'm loved. Like, this is love. This is how love is. But I feel so horrible in this relationship. Even though I'm in love with this man, but I feel horrible when I'm with him. Like, I don't feel well when I'm in this relationship, even though I am in love. Okay? Now, how do you check the alignment here? I know I said misalignment, right? What is the alignment that we can check here? How I feel and what it is. How I feel is I feel lonely. When would a person feel lonely in a relationship? It's when the other partner is not present. I mean, what I said is, when would a person feel lonely in a relationship? Is when your partner is not present. When your partner is not emotionally or physically present, or both. That's when a person in a relationship would feel lonely. So, can you fact check? For this person, can you fact check when it comes to objective truth? Is your partner, the man, present? Is your partner emotionally available here? If it's a no, like you can see the actions in the person, right? Then it's aligned. See, this is a supporting fact. These are supporting facts now. To support what? To support how this person actually feels about the loneliness. Yeah, we can understand it, yes, because your man is not present. Your man is not physically present. Your man is not emotionally present. If that's the case, then you feeling lonely, it is there's a very high chance. And that's why it's aligned. That's fact checking. Fact check. Okay? It is true in a sense. Now, then this person can think through it, feel through it, and realize that, I actually need a partner that's more present, that is more emotionally stable, that is more emotionally available, that can reciprocate my love, that can reciprocate my feelings, and that we can talk about things openly and not ending up in, avoiding issues, avoiding not to talk about it. I just really think it's a teamwork, and I want a partner to be, on the same page as I do in this way. Do you see how this is resolved? It's within this person. But this is through using objective truth to fact check, see if it aligns with how I feel, but not to say that, oh, you're not doing this, and I am going to make you do this. And it's because you're doing this to me, you make me feel lonely, and you see, this can go on, this can become hatred, accusing the other person. That would be that would be an example of using objective truth as supporting argument. Okay? You see the difference? But when we use this as supporting fact, we can then see, okay, yeah, I can understand why I would feel lonely, because it is true that my partner is not present most of the time, physically and emotionally. But I realize that I need a partner that is physically and emotionally present and available. And so I would say, maybe I would talk to him about it. This is what I need. And alternatively, I might just end this relationship. You see, this is how we can come to a resolution, when we understand the situation as it is and how we feel. Ding ding. Okay, so let's get into the second example. The second example is on belief system. So say, check if it's your core belief. That it's basically this. Now, quickly, this one is quite easy. Say person A, person B. So person A has this thought that, or this belief that I'm a woman, so I need to stay home and take care of my children. Okay, now person B is also a woman. Now, let's say woman B. Woman B is a woman that believes in, I need to be independent so I can see into my own future and build my own future, and I want to be in control of my own destiny, my own life. And I don't really want to stay home. I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, and I just want to live my life. Okay, I don't care what it is about how people see me. Now, this is actually, I just want to bring up this awareness, is that when it comes to belief system, it is more about subjective truth. It's about subjective truth, because objectively speaking, there are many different ways of living. There are many different ways of living. Okay, like basically what I suggested was that two examples of how women can see, can choose their way of living. Okay, that's about belief systems. But you see, if some women, they agree with woman A's belief, they would then support this woman, right? Right? They fight with each other. Now, for another group of women, if they resonate with what woman B said, independence, no man, I'm good, then they would then support this woman's argument or belief, right? And then usually, this is how certain arguments would start. I'm like, right? You can see how these arguments would start online or even in different contexts in society. There's like, well, traditionally speaking, women should stay at home and take care of their children. This is like a maternal instinct. This is how women should be. Now, for them, this group of women B, they would say, no, well, this is 21st century now, and we are standing on our own feet. We are able to be self-sufficient. We need no man, okay? You know what I'm saying? Now, this is how conflicts and arguments would usually start. Now, if we apply the tool of objective truth and subjective truth, is that objectively speaking, there are many different ways of living. There are many different ways of beliefs, right? But what is my belief? My subjective truth? I don't have to go against the objective truth. I don't have to go against any of this, but I just need to realize that, yes, I understand there are many different ways of seeing into the, how a woman could live, their choice of living with a husband or not. But what is my belief? Because that is my subjective truth. Any kind of beliefs that I take on, I put it into my belief system, that becomes my subjective truth. So it's not about what they say. I'm not even in the conflict. I'm not even going against anyone, because it is the truth that they all exist, and all these beliefs can coexist because they simply are here. It's not about who is better or worse. It simply is. They are what they are. Right? It's not better or worse. So the solution for myself is that, what do I believe in for myself? Like you got to check it. Is there any kind of misalignment when it comes to my own belief of how I should live as a person? Be it a woman or man, okay? Be it any kind of gender or non-gendered, okay? It is about check your core belief. It is not about following which ones, because each person has their own belief. And each belief, when being put into a person and filtered out, it could become another kind of belief. So find your own belief, find your core belief, and realize what kind of subjective truth you have, one has. Okay? Is for checking misalignment. Now, example 3 would be the path. Check if your actions are actually aligned to your own path. Basically, what it means is, say, this one is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, like the what I'm gonna say. Now, say, I'm gonna use myself as an example. I have been posting videos on this channel, right, Kouki, and my actions the actions that I put out, which is posting videos, how do I feel? Subjective truth, right? I feel passionate about it. I feel passionate about talking, sharing information, and speaking and sharing my insights on here through this platform, and also interacting with people, through the comments. I feel very content. I feel how should I feel very satisfied, and also I feel right. Okay, I feel right. Now, this is my feeling, right? The subjective truth. Now, when it comes to checking if the actions actually align to my path, then what would it be? I would see objective truth as a supporting fact that align to how I feel. What would it be? It would be the comments of people, viewers, expressing that they find this useful. They find this content useful for their own growth. And that is also matching up with my own intent of, I feel very happy because I I feel that my contents are being validated and they are of value to other people, you know, and it match up because what I put out actually has a positive reaction, a feedback from, objectively speaking, it is true. It is true. So they are feedbacks serving as facts to help me to understand that, oh yes, I feel right. And I feel that my actions are having a parallel result when it comes to the response of the audience, the feedbacks of from the audience. And so it is aligned. It is aligned. And so then I would then know, yes, okay, so my actions, my current actions, that what I'm doing, it is aligned to my path. And it makes me feel very happy in the process of it. Thus, I know I'm on the right path at this point in my journey. That is checking any kind of misalignment, right? So this is for check. So checking misalignment means if it is aligned, then it means that there's not much misalignment. But if it is not aligned, then it would mean that there is misalignment. Okay? So say, if in a scenario that I feel very good, I feel very happy, I feel very, what am I doing is I'm very satisfied, okay? However, from the feedback in the external, there's not much there. Like not much people responding, or even a lot of hateful comments, stuff like that. Well, it does. Now, what can it be when it comes to this situation? It can be, I feel happy when I'm doing what I'm doing, but I also feel judged when I see these kind of comments. Then maybe there are certain misalignment here, because why is it that I'm feeling so happy, but I'm not receiving the reciprocating validations from the external? Now, what usually this would be is this needs to be resolved. This, the subjective truth, because it's about belief system. I feel happy when speaking, but I might also have a certain element of fear in myself when I share myself, my knowledge, my feelings, my perspectives with the world. And it is because of this fear would then attract in a mirror a certain aspect in the external to reflect what I need to see in myself, that I have fear to showing up as my authentic self, and that I don't actually fully trust that this is my path. And it is this fear would cause me to experience what happens in the external as a fact. Yes, it is true. There are certain hateful comments, right? So what can I do here is, how can I adjust myself to look into my own emotional patterns, my own fear, my shadows, and resolve them. It's not about this. It's never about tackling the objective truth. It's about changing myself, rewiring myself, look into my own subjective truths, my emotions, my belief system, and my behaviors, my actions. And using this objective truth as a supporting tool with supporting facts to help myself to understand myself, my situation, so to navigate forward and to adjust myself in the process of it towards positivity. And so naturally, all kinds of situations would be gradually resolved. As I focus on my own subjective truth, having the objective truth and subjective truth separate, and thus walking in more of a parallel way, not entangled, but clean and uplifting and positive. So yeah, I hope this video finds you well. It is quite long, but I personally find this tool quite interesting to use and quite useful, especially for many individuals who might be more intellectual in a sense. And yeah, I hope you gain certain insights from this, and give it a thumbs up if you've received the information well, so I know that I'm delivering in a concise and easy to understand method. It is for me to learn better. So thank you so much for your time, your love, your support, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.